You're listening to RevUp, a podcast about faith, family, and moto. I'm John Parkinson, president of PanicREV Ministries.
And I'm Zach Cummins, former Supercross racer. We're sitting down each week to talk with professional athletes about the unique crossroads of Christian life and action sports, to offer you a view into the motivations that drive those at the top.
Welcome back to another episode of RevUp. Back here with Zach, and for another week. I see you're still not home.
I'm still not home. Do I look more trim? Do I look more lean? I've started to exercise. Preparations for the 10-hour and 24-hour began yesterday. I'm feeling fit. I'm feeling trim. I'm feeling good. I'm working off the milkshakes.
So I don't think we made it official, but we mentioned last week that you and a group of the guys are going to race these 10 and 24-hour races at Glen Helen. That like we're stamping it. It's going.
So far, a lot of pieces are moving. We got a lot of things on the way. We've been working on what we're going to come up with for a team bike. We've been starting to kind of recruit some sponsors and stuff like that. The 10-hour, it's kind of our warm up. For me, it'll be maybe a big warm up, depending on if I'm able to practice between now and then. Could be a cold show up there. But yeah, the 10-hour, we'll work through some of the kinks. We won't be on the same bike that we race in for the 24, but hopefully we'll be able to kind of give a little teaser of some of that info too, because it looks like it might be a pretty awesome setup for just the few of us at Bible study that wanted to do it, and using our connections and friends and people wanting to support it. So yeah.
I'm kind of excited about it too. Not going to be racing personally, sure. But it's just fun to watch you guys get excited about it and kind of be behind the scenes doing a thing or two.
It's been super fun. I mean, like you said, I'm not home. I've been staying at the Peyton's house for a few weeks now. And Mitch, back when he raced, was an off-road desert guy. That was where like his heart is at within this sport. That's where he came from. And then the relationship I've had with him throughout the years of my racing has been, amazing. And we're great friends. But now staying here, and then me like bringing up to him that we were gonna do it, and him being like, oh, and jumping in and being able to share kind of his passion side of racing with me. And every afternoon when he gets home from work, we like have dinner and we just chat about how we can strategize our 24 program, and him giving me advice on what to do when racing off road, because I've never done anything like this before.
Yeah.
So yeah, balancing that. It's tough balancing the excitement of that. And then like on the real side, I still did like just graduate college and have to find a job and go forward with real life also. Fun to balance.
So is this like a rebirth of your career?
No.
2-off event, like Columbia back to racing?
No, I don't think we're going back to racing. We're not going back. I mean, we're going back, but very briefly. And it's about fun. It's about us just having a good time. It's sure. like we said, a few of us from our Bible study group, a few PanicREV guys jumping together. It's about fun. So,
cool. Talking about off-road.
Yeah.
GNCC this past weekend, we had a couple guys racing that have been on the show. Most known, Zach. And Kyle Peters raced too. Did you watch anything?
I watched a bit of it. Both of them kind of gave me maybe a little bit of a reality check on where I'll be finishing. Zacho going from having just won a 450 Supercross race to then I think he ended up seventh, and then but overall with time it was quite a bit farther back than that. I think, right? And then Kyle was, I think, fared even worse than that. But dude, I mean, it's just tough not to. I mean, you can't underestimate those guys. Zacho knows it. Zacho's been in that world before. For Kyle, it was, I think, his first time, or at least first time I know of. Those races are insane, and just completing the race is a huge hurdle. Learning how to complete the race is something you got to do for a while before you start to apply speed and like a chance at winning. So,
I was a bit taken back, if I'm going to be honest. Like, I expected Zach to be competing to get on the box. And that wasn't even close to being what it was. But I don't know. I haven't really talked to him either. So
yeah, I was going to ask, do you have any more insight? I know there was a couple of rumors I'd heard about. He had some trouble off the start, pushing the wrong button or something like that. But,
I do know the Husky, or maybe all of them, I don't know. The MX bike and off-road bikes, the starter is on opposite sides on each bike. So I did hear that he was hitting the kill switch instead of the starter off.
Yeah, because he started last, and that was, I mean, that was the spot where you thought he'd be strong, right? At the very least, he was going to be strong at the beginning of the race, but that put him at a big deficit. Either way, it's super cool to have those guys racing. I mean, it definitely draws attention over to the GNCC side, which is well-deserved, but the fact that they're going out and seeking out races right now is super cool.
Yeah.
Shows their love for the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Something we mentioned with when we had Ryan on here, I'm sure like the viewership of that race was way bigger than any of the other races. Even if it was for the first 15 minutes or whatever, that viewership was probably way bigger than a normal GNCC. Drawing the more of a supercross motocross base fan.
On the GNCC side, right? I mean, sticking, because those guys are reputable guys in their own. I don't know. Did you follow the race as a whole? Or did you kind of just follow Zach and Kyle?
Yeah, I just kind of checked out. Like I watched the beginning, and then I watched the tell-in, and then some highlights. So I
know there was a bit of drama, kind of hearsay and drama going around about the win with Caleb Russell. And I guess I don't his name escapes me right now, but the younger guy on his team was kind of in a position to win toward the end of the race, and Caleb's bike was struggling and may or may not have let him by. And I've heard some people kind of chatting about that a bit.
For sure. Yeah, I didn't look into a lot lot more. Again, I was that fan that checked in for the
your guys
that I knew.
Sure.
So yeah, that was me. Moving on to a little bit of bummer news. Plessinger went down, broke his wrist, going to have surgery, and that's going to put him out of outdoors if we're going racing.
That's a bummer. Yeah, another GNCC guy, right?
Hey, I could have transitioned there too, right? You
could have, yeah. And maybe he'll end up being one. A bummer is all you can say about it. I mean, I raced with AP a lot when we were younger, and once we went pro, he really stepped up to another level. Had the lights career that he did, but these injuries the last couple of years have really been, man, it's discouraging for. I mean, depending on where his outlook is, I don't know. We don't talk, he and I very much. I mean, not that there's any animosity or anything. It's just we aren't that close. But yeah, I do wonder where he'll end up. I mean, there were rumors about him, right, potentially going GNCC, because I think he's got another year with Yamaha contractually. So I mean, we should see him in Supercross either way when the time comes, as long as he's healthy by then. But yeah, this has got to be tough, because I think there's been a big mental battle to overcome the feet injuries that he's had and kind of get back to where he saw himself at the front, and outdoors would be where he would shine on that, I think.
I would agree with that. My other thing is like in this time of unknown, like it's so hard because I'm pushing to be ready, but I don't know if I need to be ready. I don't know how hard to push, and I should be racing. And these injuries happen all the time, but I feel like and again, it's nobody's fault, but if we were racing, we might be in a different situation, right? And
maybe
just that mental state.
I wonder. I mean, I think like on the mental side of it, as far as being safe when riding, I know I was big on going to the track with a purpose, having a goal in mind. The people around me, my kind of circle, let me know when I was young, going to the track and doing laps is never going to be very safe, right? When you're just out there riding, you can encounter a lot more problems because your mind starts to wander. You're not real clear on what your purpose is. In a sport like ours, you have to have that purpose in mind every turn. With that being said, I could see this kind of limbo phase of them not knowing what's going on. Guys are kind of just in a holding pattern as far as training. I could see that kind of drawing that in, right? Hey, we need to ride today. We need to do our motos. We don't really have to get anything out of them. I feel like that would apply more to maybe an Eli Tomac level guy. That's, hey, dude, I've got it. I need to just maintain it. For AP, I would imagine that every day they go to the track, they've got a clear purpose. Even if they had 4 more months before racing, like, hey, we've got to make gains on race results. We need to find more speed. We need to find more consistency, more confidence. There's a big checklist there to be working toward.
Sure.
I would think that he would have focus and be able to capitalize on this time. That being said, he did get hurt, so it's hard to say. I mean,
but at the same time, like, we're riding dirt bikes, it's dangerous. Injuries happen.
Of course, and on the flip side of that, right, if he was halfway through the season and then had this injury, he's got a lot more to show his worth for a paycheck kind of thing. It's a bummer that he doesn't. Yeah. Because laps are dangerous no matter what.
Yeah.
Racing or practicing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The talk of riders going different places and this guy's signing with this team, that team, and have kind of begun. And I think it's going to intensify here shortly, especially if we don't go racing, because people are going to not have enough to talk about and contracts are up, right?
It's kind of funny with that now happening like right before outdoors instead of, but I mean, I'm hearing a lot of it as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously we have the Shane stuff. We have Mookie, Malcolm hearing that he's not going back to Smart Top.
Oh, really?
He might be starting a team, a 2-man team. There's they Smart Top and
do you know who he might be with?
I don't know.
I haven't heard anything about that. That's interesting.
Maybe starting a team.
Yeah.
So
no, but I mean, do you know who the second man
the
would
other
be?
guy is?
Yeah.
Maybe his brother. Maybe James coming back.
Maybe. You heard it here first.
But
who else you got?
Another one is Christian Craig.
Yeah.
The writing's kind of on the wall. He started working with Swanee. Swanee's kind of tied to Star.
Yeah.
So there's some rumors of Christian going to Star.
I've been hearing some of that as well. I've heard the same thing there, and I pushed back against it right away. I thought no way, because I believe his wife is the daughter of one of the owners of the team over there at the Geico Honda setup, and so I thought, man, you'd think he would stay there, and whether that's loyalty on either side, you just think that bond and that relationship would continue to go. But I mean, he's got one more year in the lights class, right? I imagine. Maybe 2, I guess, depending on his points. He's going to be a contender for the title at some point if he can kind of put those last couple pieces of the puzzle together. It kind of tends to be more on the fitness side, but I could see him over there at Star. They have a really strong engine package that would be good for a guy his size.
Yeah, guy his size, the dude gets off the gate almost every race out front. He's a great starter and puts himself in a good situation. So whether it's fitness or the bike, I don't know, right? But everything would point to the fitness side of things, in my opinion. And it seems to me that Swanee's done a good job with all of his guys for his track record's pretty stinking good.
Yeah. No, I think that's from what I hear, that's pretty confirmed that's happening. And I think it's a good fit. It'll work out well. That whole Yamaha camp is like shifting up in a weird way. They're just bunched up with guys, but Geico too, right? Like Geico, I'm confused about what Geico is going to do with, I guess, hopefully they go outdoor racing so that we can see that kind of sort itself out. But I worry about like a Carson Mumford, for example. I'm good friends with Carson and super support him. And from what I hear, he's been going really fast lately, but man, if they don't go outdoor racing, then it's going to be hard for him to kind of prove his worth on that team and get them to keep him around a little bit longer.
Plus, that team is so full
because they're so saturated with talent right now. Yeah, they have both of the Lawrence brothers. They have Joe Shimoda. I can't imagine clipping any of them. They've got Jeremy Martin coming back again. You got to keep him. So then, throwing a 5th guy in, then you're a whole nother semi truck usually for a 5th guy. So that's tricky.
That's tough, man. But again, so some rumors there, some facts coming out. Weston Pike finally making his official announcement of not coming back racing.
Yep.
It's very unfortunate. I'm a fan and a friend of Weston. Think pretty highly of Weston. I know he's rough around the edges, but Weston, honestly, to me, is an awesome dude. And I am glad that he is able to sit and have a conversation with me from the accident that he did have. Honestly, he's a guy that we don't hear stories like his very often, coming from pretty much nothing as far as racing out of amateurs, turning pro because he's got nothing to go race amateurs, and go into a factory truck, and saying, this is my last year. Here we go. This is the best I got. And out of that, he got a ride. Pretty awesome, right? Like it's pretty cool. He's got a great story. Unfortunately, it's ended the way that it has. But I'm excited for the guy.
I think changed in the way that it has, right? I mean,
sure.
I don't think it's ended by any means, but yeah, like his moving on from racing, definitely not being at the time he would have wanted, as it seemed like he was kind of still on the climb to the peak.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's tough. I saw a lot of his transition. I don't know Weston personally, really at all. We've had a couple of conversations, but I saw his growth a lot because right around that time was when I started training with Buddy Antunez, and I know Buddy Antunez had a huge influence on his like that time that he started to make a lot of progress.
Yep.
Yeah, it's rare to see a late bloomer like that, but I guess it's if you keep working as hard as he did, which clearly work ethic was something that he had a great amount of.
Yeah.
And you get the right people in your circle, right? Like Buddy was able to use his brute force and harness him. That was something Buddy helped me a lot with too. I was very aggressive, and that often put me on the ground. And Buddy was like, "Hey, let's bring the energy back a little bit and kind of focus it in this way." For Weston, that clearly led to a lot more success than it did for me. But yeah, and then that crash was horrendous. I mean, the reconstruction that he's been able to have to be where he's at. I know he still deals with some stuff, and that's why he's made this step. It's tough. It's a tough side of the sport. Like, I don't mean to equate it at all. And I have a lot of other, friends or people that are close in my life that have had things from this sport while they were pursuing it that stick with them. And for me, being exposed to a little bit of that with kind of some of my head stuff that continues with you long after you're done with the sport. Yeah. And it's a sacrifice that I think we're all willing to make for our love of it. And the biggest thing is just like keeping your eyes forward, which it sounds like he has from this kind of retirement post and this transition that they've talked about, and him, looking forward in life, not being hung up on what was or what could have been. Like, that's really big.
For sure. Yeah. I just thought it was important to touch on Weston and in his career and and what he has to go forward, because I think there's a lot there too. So I think his story is awesome. So again, there's not many of those guys that strap on the boots from a truck and from his own truck and then gets into a semi. So it's cool to see. But
and it's a bummer. It's a bummer to know that we won't see him on the track again racing, right? I mean, I know he still rides every once in a while, but it'd be pretty exciting to have him, a different story come out right now of him lining up for outdoors or something.
Yeah, for sure. Talking about outdoors, we're still in a standstill. They're still saying we're going racing. Where do you see things? Have you heard anything?
I've heard a lot. I think everyone's still a little bit doubtful, right? Yeah. I think they're supposed to have closer to a full schedule out pretty soon here. I've heard talk about kind of narrowing on venues, doing fewer venues, but the trouble with that comes with, as we've talked about here, for the outdoor nationals, ticket sales are a huge part of it. Yeah. So if you narrow to a few venues, if you're coming back to the same venue, 2.5 weeks or 2 weeks apart, you're going to get into trouble there with trying to sell tickets again. So that doesn't necessarily work, but and then I've heard maybe shortening the rounds to be quite a bit fewer. I mean, at this point, they're definitely not running 12.
Right.
We all know that. But yeah, whether it's 9 or 6 or even potentially less, it's all just so up in the air at this point still. And right now, a month away, a little less than a month away. It just seems difficult to imagine it going off flawlessly.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, just like you, I've heard a lot. I have zero answers. I've heard 6 rounds at 3 different locations.
Yeah.
That's what I've been told, but not like definite. Round 1 at Loretta's, I heard.
That's as confirmed as anything has been. I think that's the most certain thing that they have right now is that round 1 will be at Loretta's.
Yeah. So that in itself is pretty wild in my opinion. And we've had that conversation on here. That track, I hope they do something to it to make it a national caliber track to be able to for those guys that actually go race on. Yeah. But it's crazy in itself, right? Like you mentioned the finances and just reading some articles from Davey Coombs with RacerX and MX Sports, and just his open and honest shining light on like we need fans at the nationals.
I think on the MX Sports side, but then even more so for them to get venues to commit to taking it on.
Sure.
The venue won't accept, I mean, there's so many venues that want to have an outdoor national.
Yeah.
But from the way I understand the program to work, a lot of them won't host the race because their expenses are so high.
Sure.
So I think typically the way that program works is right. Like the venue that's hosting it has to pay a certain fee to MX Sports. They also have to usually pay the purse money for the event. That's over $100,000 right there.
Right.
They're going to have to put out if they're not, and they usually get, either all of gate or a lot of gate. If they're not getting anything for gate fee, they're just dumping that money just to host it.
Yeah.
There's no, return on investment there.
Yeah.
So it becomes problematic really quick.
Yeah. And even if we have 3 venues in 6 rounds, like we're not going to get 200% participation, right? Like maybe 150 if you're 150%. If
you're saying when they cycle back to the same,
right.
So if we have Loretta's this week and then whatever Ironman next week, and then we come back to Loretta's second week at Loretta's, it's not getting all the same guys that it got first week.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's tough, man, but I'm all for it. Let's try to get racing. I mean,
it's the thing we need for our sport, keep our sport going, right? I mean, it's got to just survive this dry spell, and that's what everybody's doing. Just trying to limp it home, it seems like right now, and just get to the other side of where we're at in this pandemic.
Yeah. Racers and industry people, like, we need to go racing, honestly.
Yeah.
To keep jobs going and keep these paychecks going too, So yeah, I'm all in. Let's do what we can to get as many rounds at however many locations we can get. So yeah, you got anything else there?
No, I don't think so. It'd be tough to be one of those guys that's in limbo right now. I know that. I'm glad I'm not in that position. I mean, yeah, for the team side of it, it's definitely stressful, but for the racer side of it, it's got to be just a real mental battle.
Yeah. And one of the guys that I'm sure is really trying to push to go racing is going to be our guest tonight, Darian Sanayei, who's got an opportunity to go racing, outdoor racing with maybe a green team.
Let's find out.
We'll get some more info. So we're going to welcome Darian to the show right here. What is going on, Darian? How are you, bud?
Not too bad. How you guys doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Hanging here at the office. Just crushing life, man. Just trying to get after it, dude.
I like that optimism, John. Make the reality you want. Mine pretty stock. I just hit it with I'm doing okay. Surviving a pandemic is as good as it's going to get from me.
But yeah, man, what's been going on? Zach and I were just talking about the nationals and if and when those things are going on. What are you doing to prepare yourself to go racing? I'm assuming.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I don't really know over racing. Obviously, I want to race outdoors, and I'm trying to prepare for that and be ready for it if it does happen. Hopefully it does, but yeah, I mean, things could change and they could not. I mean, who knows what could happen?
Yeah.
What does that look like on the day-to-day right now? Are you, just training as if they're coming and working out to be ready for outdoor racing?
Yeah, I'm training as if they're coming. I'm not trying to way overload myself, because you don't know if it's coming in a couple weeks or if it's coming in a month and a half.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to definitely I'm working out and I'm riding pretty a lot, but I'm not doing anything crazy where I'm training 3 times a day.
Sure. Yeah. How has that been? I guess, has that just been the plan steady through? Because we had that obviously an extension a few weeks ago, supposed to happen already, and then it got extended. Did that kind of throw a wrench in your program, or just steady goes the course?
I would more say it kind of helped me a little bit.
Okay.
Just because I was doing Supercross in Salt Lake City, and it's kind of a rush to go there and get all that done. And then, I was just kind of doing everything myself with my practice bike and everything. So to be racing the middle of July, right now, basically, I think I could have been ready for it, but it definitely would have been a little bit more of a push compared to a month from now.
Sorry, John. I just want to, if I can, I want to ask: has practice bike maintenance and all that kind of junk, has that been on you too? I mean, I've been there, like with a satellite team, and then wanting to go do some outdoor races and doing it on my own, juggling that of driving myself to the track, working on the bike while at the track, driving myself home from the track, then doing a workout, then prepping the bike for tomorrow. Yeah. It's a gnarly routine. Is that where you're at right now?
Yeah, definitely, and that's kind of why I've like kept riding a little bit down, not doing 4 or 5 days a week, just because I kind of need to, if I want to work out and I want to get my bike ready, it's just kind of like the small things, like when you need a chain or brake pads or something like that. It's like you have to prepare for it, and then you have to do it. Where it's not crazy hard to do most of the stuff, but it just takes time.
Yeah. Have you just been hitting the local SoCal tracks on their days, Paula or Fox Raceway and all that, or you've been out in the hills doing sand track and stuff?
Well, when it was more like full quarantine, you kind of had to ride. Like if you were going to ride at all, it'd be like in the hills. So I would say I was maybe only doing like once a week at that time.
Yeah.
And then once like everything started opening back again, I've been trying to ride like around 3 days a week. And Paula,
gotcha.
State Fair, Glen Helen, those kinds of tracks.
Cool. Yeah. Talking about A, kind of doing your own thing through Supercross, and B, going outdoor racing. Been looking at some Vital stuff, been looking at some tracks, and some talks about you maybe getting a ride. What's that looking like with PC?
Well, yeah, I mean, I want to race outdoors, but if I had to do it all myself, it'd be pretty tough. Especially if they're going to be mostly on the East Coast and everything. I don't think that I'd probably be able to do all of them for sure. Mm-hmm. Maybe like 1 or 2 I was gonna try to shoot for. But yeah, it's looking that now hopefully I'll be on Pro Circuit if motocross starts back up. So
awesome.
Pretty stoked about that.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So, what does that look like to you? I mean, honestly, coming back from having a full factory deal overseas and coming back here, doing your own little program and just being real and honest, like things not going exactly as planned in Supercross, like, and now you have an opportunity. Like, what's that do to your confidence? What's that do to your program?
Yeah, I mean, for anybody, I mean, any privateer can tell you that it's super tough just to juggle everything and, to keep trying to go forward and keep racing when you don't have really much support. So, I got a great opportunity, hopefully, to race outdoors. So I'm definitely going to give everything I got so I don't mess it up.
Does that like reshift your own perception of how Supercross went, right? Like, I mean, you came over here, we're spending your own money on Supercross, and, having raced you before, seeing your results overseas, obviously like the level you're at. And then I think some of Supercross was a bit of a grind. I mean, not to be like negative about it, but I know your expectations probably were higher than where you were actually at.
Yeah.
But then to have an opportunity like this still arise after that has got to kind of make what was a bummer feel like a success in a way, right? Or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, I thought like moving over from Europe, coming back here and racing Supercross was going to be, I wouldn't say easier, but I thought that I was going to do better, And
sure.
Once I started getting into it, getting in the swing of things, I could kind of tell that things was going to be a little bit of a learning curve. It's gonna take a little bit of time, to get back to where I need to be. And I feel like in outdoors, I can be, up front, especially if I have good equipment, if I don't need to really worry about kind of everything else, just the racing part of it, kind of like I did in Europe. So I don't know if Supercross, honestly, like for Mitch to take the chance on me, I feel like whether I would have raced Supercross or not raced Supercross, I don't know if he really cares. It's mainly like, what are his options right now and who can he put out there that's going to perform the best in motocross?
Yeah, that's fair. I respect that. I wouldn't sell yourself short on options. I think he had quite a few options, quite a few people from the office.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So.
And I mean, your results honestly speak from themselves. Racing the GPs, like I know we Americans look at the GPs as a lesser series. Hopefully, more people are looking at it not so.
I don't know if that holds true anymore. I think like the top 5 GP guys are starting to kind of take that role of being the best outdoor riders, period. I think that maybe it's the perception that there's maybe a little bit less prestige in some way just because we've idolized the US series. But
and that's what it is 100%. I'm not saying that personally, but I'm saying as Americans, that is most definitely there that we are the baddest dudes on the track, and that's been disproved for the last 5 years at the Nations.
Exactly. I was going to say the shift of Nations trends, I think, has kind of opened up our perspective on that a bit.
But at the same time, like what I was going to say was we here probably look at it as a lesser series, though I don't personally, and in reality, it's not.
Sure.
Those dudes are bad dudes on dirt bikes.
Yep.
But your results speak from themselves, getting a couple podiums and battling for wins. Coming over here, back home, where do you truly see yourself there? You should have that confidence that you can run up front.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even for me, like comparing kind of, the speed here compared to the speed there, it's tough. Like honestly, on a day-to-day basis, sometimes I'm thinking like, oh yeah, maybe those guys are a little bit quicker, or maybe these guys are a little bit quicker. And I haven't like jumped into the whole series like in outdoors coming up here. So I think that will kind of play a part. But I think that the top guys in pretty much everywhere in the world are fast, doing the MXGP series, like the top guys there, they're on it. And the top guys here, they're on it. So if you're on your game, I think that for me, I'm a pretty good starter, and I think that I can run up front, and I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, dude, you pulled a hole in Supercross, right?
Yeah, I got a whole shot in Supercross. I started doing first gear starts that day.
Hey, don't give those secrets away, man.
I don't think we're going back to Salt Lake anytime soon. He's probably all right.
Yeah, for the elevation.
All those little guys at Mammoth now have a hot tip.
Whoa, man. You might want to go race a vet class or something, Zach.
Yeah, take it easy. I don't know. With Mammoth, the concrete start, though, I always was weird about the first gear start because I didn't want to spin too much on the concrete.
Oh, really? I did a lot of first gear starts. Once I got on 250F, I did first gear starts at Mammoth.
I might get shot, but he probably will never race there ever again.
Yeah, you've told me third, right?
No.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
Timmy.
Yeah, Timmy.
Pulled most whole shots probably there, and he's first gear guy.
Oh, first.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, I told you that, and you didn't listen to me. And you didn't get a whole shot. He probably beat you that day.
Yeah, maybe.
I've had a decent number of whole shots out of Mammoth with first gear starts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That shift quick.
So Darian, I mean, I don't even know how to frame it as a question. I just stating it because it's so wild to me. But like, obviously, I mean, we raced each other as amateurs for a long time, and like growing up, being in the position that you're potentially in right now, right, and on the works of being in, was the goal, right? Like, I think I can say that pretty clearly for the both of us. Like riding as Team Green guys, having relationships with Mitch, it was like the goal is to get on that bike.
Yeah.
Both of us went really different routes. Obviously, I've stepped away from racing completely now, but like you went to the GPs, it was a total divergent path from what either of us would have thought at that time. But then to have it circle back and like come back around, it's just unreal. It's got to be a really exciting time right now, like a really motivating time, I imagine. And I know it's not like a question as much as just a statement, but like it's super sick, dude. Like I'm stoked for you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely awesome. I mean, like when I was a little kid, it was basically that's the team that I wanted to be on and everything. And if you would have asked me like how my if you would have told me that at one point I was going to be on the team, I mean, now it's not even a for sure thing. So it's,
sure.
I mean, maybe motocross doesn't happen. Maybe I'm not even on it, but so I don't want to like get my hopes up and stuff too much. But at the same time, it's like, if you would have asked me how my path would have went when I was a little kid, it would have been completely different than, to going over there and racing and everything.
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, right. Getting a tryout on the bike. I mean, I think that's totally public that you've ridden the bike a couple of times now. Have you ever ridden their race bike before just these last couple of weeks?
No, I have, the bike I rode in Supercross was a pretty good engine, wasn't their race stuff.
Yep.
So, I mean, it was fast and in the power, it was really quick. But then once I did the test ride on that bike,
it's a game changer, right?
Yeah, it was awesome.
So I think I've said this before, but I was talking to somebody that in the same shoes, and it was like I really think it was Trey, and he's like, dude, I jumped on my amateur bike and then jumped on my pro bike, and I was like, it's night and day difference, and these are straight up cheater bikes. Like, not having one of these is such a disadvantage that it's not even fair.
Yeah. I mean, just chassis wise, right? Like, I mean, it's kind of the joke is that it's like in amateurs, it's the equivalent of cheating. I mean, obviously the guys aren't cheating at the top level. They've just fine tuned it to that level. But when I was in 2016, when I was racing for the Phoenix racing team on a Kawasaki, I did the testing for Mitch's team for Pro Circuit.
Yeah.
And so all the way up until the season, I did a ton of riding on their bike. And then even during the season, we still did some more development. So I would go back and forth between my practice bike and their race bike on practice days. And it was pretty difficult pill to swallow, like seeing my own lap times improve throughout the day and then get back on my bike and be like a full second slower every time.
Yeah, the chassis is, I would say is like, cause people used to ask me for like, oh, chassis. I don't even really know what chassis is, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
Like, well, what's chassis? I care about the engine. But then, once you like ride it and it's like just in those little reactions, those beginning of the corners and stuff, just where you have that much more confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so important. Yeah. Go ahead, John.
What was the bike overseas comparable or not so much?
Yeah, my bike overseas was good. I really can't complain about it. Just definitely, it was most of the time it was like 1 to 2 people on the team, and just stuff takes time to get ready. So I didn't have like a lot of time to test and like kind of perfect what I wanted.
Sure.
But I mean, like my suspension wise and my engine wise, all of that was pretty good.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to too, right? Like PC has Tedesco on like full time now doing testing. So I mean, they've got a guy constantly developing that thing. So you're not
good still. So
yeah,
you can ride good.
Yeah, it's not some squid like Zach.
Hey, listen, you know my stat there. The last SX championship for the team, Justin Hill. That was a bike I set up. Just saying.
I can't go against that. The facts are there. The writing is on the wall.
Listen,
I think that's the first time Zach went public with that bit of information.
Oh, people know. People know. I don't have to say it. People know. People look at that championship and they look right to me and like, wow, Zach Cummins set up an amazing bike.
Title and little mini print.
Yeah, underneath Zach Cummins is on the plate.
That was what my results would say. They'd say 18th place plus small contribution to winner's finish. That's funny. Dude, that's sick though, right? I mean, and then beyond that, I guess you can't look beyond that at this point, right? With the pandemic and everything. But I mean, you have full intentions of racing Supercross again next year and trying to maximize that. I mean, right? The idea is that if you get this opportunity for outdoors, do as well as you can, and hopefully that materializes into another opportunity, I guess, right?
Yeah, for me, I mean, that's kind of what I want to do right now. I mean, there's definitely a time where you have to, look at everything and see what makes the most sense. But I feel like for me right now, try to go and just what's in front of me, do well in motocross. Hopefully that gives me an opportunity for Supercross. Yep. Try to do like one full season of everything I got and then kind of see from there,
Can we call this a full season?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not really calling this year a full season. This Supercross was like, I feel like kind of like my starter. I did arena cross and I missed, more than half the rounds of the East. So
yeah, and again, Zach and I talking before you came on, we can have maybe 6 rounds of outdoors. And there's also talk of it only being at 3 venues. Like there's a lot of wacky stuff that's out. Again, whether this is factual or just some talk, that's some talk. So
I think that's as far as it gets though, right? I mean, we keep touching on that too. I think conjecture is as far as it gets with anyone. Like if we go to the very top of the kind of hierarchy of making these decisions, even the dude at the top, I don't think is speaking facts at this point because we don't know. No one knows. I mean, we can see that with our government, right? The people at the top aren't able to do anything but kind of speculate.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Darian.
I'm hearing 9 rounds.
9 rounds?
I'm hearing like Saturdays and Tuesdays, but we'll see.
Oh, really? That'd be insane with outdoors. Jeez.
That would be pretty pretty tough.
Crazy.
But again, who really knows? I know MX Sports wants to do as many rounds as possible, but I don't know what that's going to look like, and I don't think, again, anyone really does.
I imagine if we were to go right Saturdays and Tuesdays, I feel like some of the kind of GP skill set would come into play, as far as like you guys did Saturday and Sunday, right? So there was that level of, hey, we've got to ride good to qualify good, but also conserve myself because there's another thing coming up, right now. I feel like AMA outdoor racing, that doesn't really exist. Dudes sprint for whatever, 19, 20 minutes, then start to fade, but are still like max heart rate the whole way through. People aren't typically conserving themselves. But if we went Saturday, Tuesday, that kind of a little bit of that tactical side might come into play.
Yeah, that was always tough for me.
Oh, really? Never adjusted to that?
Go out. I mean, you're racing, so it's like if you're racing, you want to go hard.
Yeah.
And so you do a lot of riding on Saturday. So by the time you got done with Saturday, like, I mean, most of the time, especially the year that I had Epstein-Barr, was even, last year, which was made it a lot worse. But like I was smoked every Saturday night, and I'm just like, I got a race tomorrow. So yeah, you definitely have to play a little bit of a strategy. The only thing with that, if it's motocross, if it's that kind of strategy, which one's more important to you, Saturday or Tuesday, when they're the exact same thing,
Sure.
Yeah. That's the tough part. It's not like in the GP where Saturday is not as important as Sunday. Saturday is important for gate pick and getting in and all that kind of stuff. But here it'd be race day Sunday, race day Tuesday, or Saturday and Tuesday. That's tough.
How much does the travel schedule factor into fatigue with all that? Is it pretty gnarly? Because like I remember going back to, you were talking about last year when you had Epstein-Barr, but last year you came in and visited me at school in New York City, which was sick. You were the only guy that like I raced with when I was younger that came and actually saw the campus. So that was dope. Yeah. But then, I mean, if I remember right, that was a time when you were having like visa problems getting to Russia for a race, right? So you had to fly to New York for a couple of days and figure it out. Like that just seems like so much undue stress throughout that series.
Yeah, definitely. If we would have had maybe somebody on the team helping plan that all out, I would have not had to do that. But the travel schedule, honestly, like between the European rounds is basically like doing it here. I mean, it's, you go from California to Texas or whatever,
Yeah.
But the overseas rounds, when there's like five or six rounds that are overseas, those are the tough ones. And then, like that was probably my craziest trip. I
was going to ask, did you ever encounter any like major nightmares beyond that, or was that it?
That was, I mean, every weekend was
something.
Like,
so what exactly transpired to make that happen? Like how did that come about because I mean, so to back it up for people that don't know, I think it was like Tuesday or Wednesday that you came out, right, to New York City, and we were like hanging out, walking around my campus, and you're explaining that you were there waiting because you had like 2 more days before the New York visa office or like whatever passport office could turn around for you to be able to go to the race that weekend.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a blur to me, so to remember 100% is tough. But yeah, I was in Europe and I was hitting my team manager up like, hey, we got to get this visa. It looks like this is now pretty much the only time. He says, yeah, come over. So I drove over to England, where the year before I had just gone to England and got it, and it took a few days. I got my passport back. Well, they changed the rule last year that made it so if you're American, I don't know, it took like an insane amount of time.
Okay.
Like way after the race.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, dang, like, what can I do now? And then they're like, we don't really know. So I was like Googling it, figuring it out. Basically, the only thing I could do, possibly, not even for sure thing, is to go to New York where the Russian embassy was, and then try to get it expedited. And it takes like 48 to 72 hours. So I had to like go there, go straight in. I went straight from the plane by myself, like just walked with my suitcase all the way to the Russian embassy. Got in, waited there for like 4 or 5 hours, filled it all out, had a lady help me, and I had to like print stuff, and she's like, you got to go print this stuff. So I'm like, where to go print it? I'm like, New York City. So I like went up to like, I don't know, the 20th floor of some building. It was like a little print shop, printed it, came back down, gave it to her, and then I just waited. I got it back in 48 hours, and I flew out the next morning straight to Russia.
So sketchy,
Lined
dude.
up.
It's so sketchy. That's what I'm saying. Like, I remember Darian hitting me up, being like, "Hey, man, I'm going to be in New York for a couple days," and I like looked at the schedule of the GPs, and I was like, "Oh, okay, let's hang out." All right, this is weird.
Yeah. What, you have any other like bizarre or crazy stories from your travels?
I'll try to think of it, but yeah, definitely just the time change is the hardest thing about all of that.
That's gnarly.
But I don't know, just it was cool to see like different places, you know, like when I went to Indonesia and stuff, just the way that, you know, they lived on those small islands and stuff is kind of crazy. And it just kind of widens your perspective a little bit.
For sure. Those are things that like I enjoy traveling, even the United States, like when I was working at MSR and a couple magazines and stuff, and being able to go to the nationals and stay for an extra day or whatever and see a couple things, and that's awesome. But you were able to experience that on a world scale of things. What was maybe the coolest thing you've seen? You went and visited or something?
I don't know. I don't really have like the coolest or like the best place or honestly even the best track, just kind of all of them and seeing and trying to, you know, take it in. You know, most of the time you're going like from the hotel to the track, you know, and to the airport. So not a crazy amount, but some of the times we had like an extra day or two, could go and do some stuff. But like going to Qatar, which was pretty much like Middle East, was just kind of crazy. You know, it's like, I don't really know how to like explain it, but it was just like, dang, I'm actually like here doing this. I like pulled out money out of the ATM. I had like $1 million of their money, and I'm like, I'm rich.
Don't they usually, I don't know if it's every round, but a lot of the rounds have like a parade type of deal, like through the city before the race?
Yeah, there's like on the overseas ones, it depends on what it is, and I think the government like sets up something for the riders to go and check out.
I've just seen you post or other people post, and that looks cool to me.
Yeah, like I was dancing one time. They like had me come up out of everybody. All the riders are sitting there, and they picked a volunteer, and it was me, and so I had to like go dance with this Indonesian girl and stuff.
Picked a volunteer. That means Darian raised his hand. Anyone want to dance with this girl?
I don't know why they picked me. I can belly dance. Darian's like, me.
Yeah.
No, but I like that stuff. It was cool. Yeah. I'm like, I might as well, you know, do something and have some memories.
That's one thing that I think I regret, and I've talked to John about. Like, I was so stuck in my head about my goal was to race here in the U.S., right? I want to race Supercross. So, I mean, I really turned down a lot of opportunities for, you know, I mean, not GP level stuff, but like small races that were in different countries, whether it be, you know, stuff in Germany or France.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to Mexico a couple of times, but yeah, I mean, I shut down a lot of that stuff just because I was like, I want to stay one track mind on this kind of thing here and work on it. And I'm glad I did in one sense. Like, I don't have like regrets about the amount of effort that I put into it. But at the same time, like, I definitely didn't seize a lot of those huge life experiences. Because even just like the kind of the race I went to in Mexico, the Zacatecas race, like, it was pretty fun. And it was cool. And it was like a similar kind of thing of like, we rode around, like did like a sight lap with like girls waving flags, American flags on the back. And like, it's kind of quirky and funny, but those are the stories that are kind of, I mean, more memorable, more significant than like actual race result a lot of times.
Yeah. For sure. That's definitely one thing that, I mean, there's kind of like that happy medium, I feel, you know, where
sure.
You can't go one way or the other too crazy. Obviously, you know, your job, what you're doing and what you're trying to do.
Trying to make a living. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So as long as it doesn't interfere with that too much, I think it's all cool to try to get, you know, some memories and have some fun. It's kind of like that, like Loretta's, you know, how like your dad would be like, we're going to Loretta's like on the drive, or my dad especially, he'd be like, no having fun, no golf carts.
We're here for one reason.
Yeah, we're here for one reason. But then it's like my last year at Loretta's, I'm like, dang, this is my last year at Loretta's. Like I knew it was going to be my last year.
Or is it? Or is it? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, or is it?
And which last year are you talking about?
It was 2015.
The first or second? The second last year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna just have fun and just hang out and try to do all the stuff that, you know, the event's putting on and just have a good time. Yeah. I ended up getting second in 250A and second in 450A. So we'll never know if that was what caused. But no, I had a good time. And it was a good week.
That's funny.
Who won that year?
Harrison won 250A and Benny Bloss won the 450A.
That's legit.
Yeah.
My last year at Loretta's was the year before when you came out ripping, and then either Moto 1 or Moto 2.
Yeah,
Moto 1, blew out your knee.
No, I crashed, broke my collarbone in that moto.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I don't remember that well then, but I do remember you weren't racing.
Yeah. And that same section.
Which was nice. It was kind of good news for someone in my position.
It was stacked that year.
It was. Yeah, there were a lot of guys. I think I had a real scattered week result-wise. I was really inconsistent, but I think I ended up going like 5.5 in same two classes, 250 and 450.
Yeah, I remember.
I thought I would have another year there, though. I mean, at that point, like, I didn't.
That's kind of why I had another year, basically, because of that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
well, you're going to get another year probably there this year.
Yeah.
Oh, true. That's a good point. Yeah, in a few weeks here, it sounds like you've been lining up. Dude, I've talked about it a bunch. We've talked about it on the podcast a few times. I've been talking to Mitch about it in the afternoons. Like, I'm so confused about how they're going to make that even halfway decent.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
They've got to change so much about it. And I think I've told John, I think I've said it on the podcast, like I've heard rumors that they might build a whole nother track somewhere else, but then talking to Mitch, talking to other people, it doesn't sound like that's as likely as I had originally thought. And like I've heard that they might extend the track out beyond into that kind of C lot out the back, you know, which would be good for track length, but still the start in itself, dude, to come out a 40-man start and funnel into those trees. And there's so many spots to go off and hit a tree or to cut the track or, I mean, I capitalized on that a couple times, I think, over my years there.
Yeah, who was it?
Zach cheat? No way.
Darian's seen it plenty of times. Darian's been around me enough to see me cheat.
It's like somebody cut a whole section off, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
It's probably Zach.
Dude, when we were on minis, I think Connor Pearson did it and got away with it.
Yeah.
Then we were on 65s. Adam, whether it was actually a mistake or not, went off in the 10 Commandments like 3 laps in a row, battling with Cooper.
Really?
Yeah. Which I think it was legit a mistake, but he was like trying to triple somewhere that was super gnarly.
Sure.
And so he just kept messing it up and then shooting off the track, but then he'd pin it along the side. Wow. So then he got in trouble. I've done it a few times just in that first section off the start. Yeah. Come off and you funnel in and then you go into that option single. I've gone off the inside of the single more than once.
Yeah.
Never intentionally.
No, never.
Yeah, never.
That's funny.
I feel like Darian's seen me cheat though. We had an interaction at Mini O's.
Yeah.
Where I cleaned you out and hit the ground with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't even remember that until you posted it on your story like a year.
I remember it because I remember afterward you talking to me about it and me apologizing and telling you that I missed the back brake and it was an accident. And then the next day, Verb posted an uncut. And it was just so obvious that I just like, dude, I just teed him up. Like I came out of the turn and teed him up and blew us both out. Like there was no chance of saving it. It was dumb.
Going down for the inside.
Yeah.
Faster than the outside.
I think it was like second lap. It was not a smart move at all. But yeah. Sorry about that.
Nah, it's all right.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Right on. We're going to take a little break here and dive into the word with our devotional dig. Darian has a verse for us today. Darian, you want to go over that verse with us?
Sure. So my verse, my favorite verse, honestly, is Romans 8:31. I mean, I have a few favorites, but this one, I just like what it is, so I'll read that to you. What then shall we say in response to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? And yeah, I just like that verse for the meaning. Like, it's just pretty awesome. Just pretty much what it says. Like, if God's for us, who can be against us? You know?
Yeah.
I used to listen pre-race when I was racing Supercross. I would ride, the spin bike and warm up before the race, and I would listen to a song "Our God" by Chris Tomlin, and the chorus of the song is this verse.
Yeah.
And for me, that was what got me going right before a race, or getting me in the right mindset of just knowing that there's a way bigger battle going on here, and as long as we're on the right team with that, we're aligned with our God, we're good. Yeah. We'll prosper. Yeah, I think it's huge.
Yeah, having that perspective and knowing that, like Zach just said, if I'm on the right team, what's that right team? And that's God's team, right? Like, if nothing could be against us. That is not to say that I can't get hurt. That's not to say that I'm going to win everything. Like so many naysayers want to attack Christian athletes, especially in our sport, and go, "Oh, where's your God now? You're broken." Or recently, right, Shane? "Oh, how's your God treating you now that you lost?" Or whatever. Is your God proud of you for not winning? And all of these things. It's like, absolutely. Because nothing can beat me and nothing can be against me, because my God is with me and for me in all things, in good and bad, win or lose, in the hospital or in my bed. God's with me, and nothing can be against me if we are on that team, and that's huge. And going into battle with that type of attitude, and knowing that in all things God will work for good, and that He's on my team and I'm on His team. Nothing can be against me. Nothing could defeat me. The results don't matter. Should be pretty confident. If we truly believe verses like this.
For sure.
I think, John, I think you stand with me in saying, like, this is one of those verses too that I think takes a certain level of like spiritual depth to really grasp, in the sense that, like, one of my favorite verses has a kind of a similar effect of, if we delight in the Lord, He'll give us the desires of our heart, right? And at a shallow understanding of either of those two verses, they feel like they guarantee prosperity right here, right now.
Sure.
Right? Man, if I'm on God's team, I'm going to win the race, right? No, who can stand against me? But there's that deeper level of understanding the transcendence that comes with that relationship, understanding that this is a prosperity far beyond things of this world. And that's what's guaranteed here, that all of these things are so small in comparison to my God, that why should I be impacted by them? If my eyes are truly set on the grand prize, I understand that everything between here and there is temporary. Nothing will stop me from getting to Him. I think that's massive, but also, like, you get what I'm saying? Kind of takes like that little bit of, you got to break through the surface. Because it's really easy, I think, especially when we're kids, to like read a verse like that and be like, oh, okay, if I'm with God, I will win. Sick.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're with God, you're going to win the real fight.
Yeah.
But you've got to get there, and understanding that gives you a genuine peace, a genuine success through the days.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it like you said, it doesn't mean we're going to win every single race or any race.
Yeah.
We will win the big race, right? Like, we're going to win the biggest race, the race of life, right? And I think that's the important one.
Yeah.
So.
Darian, can I ask, and maybe you don't remember, but like, how long has this verse been one that you've kind of been invested in? Is it like kind of more recent you've found this, or have you felt this way about it for a while? Or
yeah, this one's probably been a couple of years, I feel like, where it's been one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I had Colossians 3:17, which was one that kind of was stuck in my head before.
Yeah.
For a long time. But this one, yeah, it's just cool because it just gives you confidence. Every time you read it, it's like, it doesn't mean that nobody's going to be against you,
Sure.
It doesn't mean that nobody's, and you see it like in our sport, like how you say with Trey and Shane, but it's like, it don't matter. Like, it doesn't matter who's against you.
Yeah.
God's for you. So who cares, honestly?
Yeah. I'm going to kind of not pivot, but it brings a smile to my face to hear Darian, like, you talk like this, just because, like, where kind of things started for you. Same thing with you, Zach, but
I wanted to ask that about, and maybe you'll shed light on that, but yeah, kind of Darian's walk, because I don't know much about that.
Yeah. And as far as I know of, like, it kind of started at camp, right? Like, you came out to camp. You're actually a camper. I think I invited you to come up to Washougal probably, or maybe Glen Helen, one or the other. And talk. Can you shine a little light on that process?
When did that happen?
At the time, I was living in California, in Hesperia, California, the high desert.
We could have left that one out.
Yeah.
We can edit the audio.
That's where I was living at the time. I think I was maybe about 14 or 15. And I was talking with John, maybe on Facebook or text message or something like that. We were talking about it, and yeah, he invited me to come out to the camp, and I was like, heck yeah, I'll be, I thought it was just going to be a riding camp pretty much. I think it was in Washington at the time. And yeah, that just kind of opened my eyes to it. I wouldn't say that I was like not, religious or Christian when I was younger. I just wasn't like, I didn't fully like understand,
Yeah.
And then that kind of opened it. And then from that point, I moved from Hesperia to Club MX, and they had chapel there every week. And I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like, it's right here, like on site. Like, I was living there pretty much just training. There's not too much else to do. And then you had on a Wednesday night, so it was chapel. So I was going into that. And then, I stayed in touch with, John, and tried to do the camps when I could. And then, my racing career, took off kind of at that point, and went to Europe and everything. So it's been, over there was a little bit tough, I mean, it's hard when you don't have, the community and everything around you. Didn't really like go to church or anything in that sense over there. But yeah, I'm glad to be back here now.
I think it's an important note, like of the fellowship side of it. I think Thomas talked to us about that too when Thomas was over there.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw it, but then I experienced it quite a bit when I went to New York City. I got grounded into a Bible study there, but it was a men's Bible study that I hit once a week. And then I was kind of sporadic on when I would hit church, because I never found like a church home where I felt really grounded. And then, kind of my friend group, or like the people that I met at school, were not super on board with my faith, and so it's difficult living in kind of like a scenario that doesn't encourage, and not having those kind of support systems like we do with the study that we have in California.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. Here, it's nice though. I mean, you can, talk with pretty much anybody, and it's pretty awesome.
Hey, we talked a little bit about camp. I'm going to bring up a story about camp. You remember your story with Timmy and your trail riding?
I try to forget that part of it. I tried to forget that part of the camp, but no, that was fun.
Let's hear it.
What happened?
One of the two of you's got to share. This sounds like maybe John should share it, because we're going to miss some details.
If Darian doesn't give some details, I'll put them back in there.
Yeah. I don't really remember exactly, but I just want to say I've never loved trail riding. I used to go trail riding with my dad when I first started riding, and I was going to quit riding dirt bikes until he took me to a motocross track. And then at that point I liked it.
Really? Why, before we get into the story, why do you not like trail riding at all?
I don't know. My dad, I was like on a little XR50, little Honda 50.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he thought it was funny, but he would always try to make me do this stuff first, but like go through like a big puddle or
something you couldn't do.
Hill. Yeah, something I could not do. So like right
Darian
away,
get stuck or whatever.
That's so funny.
So what happened?
What, with Timmy?
Yeah, with Timmy.
He's trying to avoid this so hard, man.
I honestly don't really remember. I think I might have tried to go over a log and crashed a few times, and I might have wanted to go back.
You most definitely wanted to go back. But what about like getting to the bottom of a hill and you say, nah, I ain't going up that thing. And everybody's up top. Like, let me remind you again, Darian's like one of the top B guys in the nation. And he's at the bottom of some hill with all these kids that Darian's way better, like bike skill, racing, everything.
But he's not going to do it.
But him and Timmy are at the bottom of the hill going, and Darian's like, nah, I ain't going up that hill. And all these like pretty much squids are up there. Like,
well, it wasn't a hill made for riding, I don't think. It was just like a hill.
But everybody else was up there.
Darian looked at Timmy and just heard Steve's voice shouting.
Yeah, right.
Go up it. He's like, oh.
Yeah. It was...
So I haven't done much trail riding myself, but I mean, I always enjoyed it. I went a couple times with like the Kawasaki guys, with Chappie and Ryan Holiday and all those guys. Chappie is a shredder off-road. Like when I was in the A class, I went with them, and Chappie just left me in the dust.
Dang.
And I'm the amateur or the truck driver for Cowie. But dude, I recently signed up for the 10-hour and the 24-hour off-road races at Glen Helen.
What? When's that?
Yeah.
Zach's coming out of retirement.
The 10, I haven't ridden at all yet. I haven't ridden in like 2 years. But the 10 is in like 3 weeks, and the 24 is in November.
I don't think they'll be racing yet. You think you want to do a 10-hour race?
Yeah. I think Mitch
another teammate.
Mitch is looking to support us a bit. I've been gassing him up.
So how long do you have to ride then?
I think we're trying to figure it out right now whether we'll do hour or hour and a half shifts each, and then we'll just rotate. So however many times that ends up being.
A team of 4.
A team of 4, yeah. So on the 24 it'll be like 6 hours each probably. And the 10 will be a bit less, 3.5 or so.
Dang.
Yeah.
You just got to be on rotation where you only go 2 times, not 3 times.
Right. Yeah. We've got Mosman on the team. And so I told him if it gets stretched out a bit, he's just going to have to take longer shifts. He'll have to run two tanks of fuel instead of 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That is funny. Dude, that's cool though, like backing up a bit, right? Like your transition being involved in camp. I mean, mine was too, right? Like we grew up in close proximity to each other, you and I, and sounds like kind of had that similar standing of what I call like a lukewarm Christian, right? That kind of middle ground. I think of it's in Revelation, kind of a verse about, whether you're not hot or cold in your faith. And it's really violent, man. And God says, like, those of you who are not hot or cold, like I chew you up and I spit you out. Like it's not a real saving faith. But I think you and I maybe walked a similar line with that. But it's really rad that the impact of PanicREV, right? To reach guys at our level and to convert us or give us an opportunity to be exposed to the word in a real way, in a meaningful way. I mean, for me, that didn't happen until I was almost 19, but similar kind of pivot of my trajectory in life for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's pretty awesome for, John to hit me up and PanicREV camps to be, something to do, I mean, where I thought it was just going to be a motocross camp and then kind of just open it up into everything else.
Something I should be asking is, John, what exactly made you hit up Darian? Because he was in Hesperia. I would have been in like the Thousand Oaks area. We were pretty similar skill level at the time, pretty equal in our lukewarm faith. What was it that made you feel like he was worth saving and not me?
Done before.
I've known Darian forever, dude.
What'd you say, Darian?
MSR.
You knew. Oh, MSR
Darian was
did
one of my guys, dude.
That MSR deal?
Yeah. So I didn't really know cool guy Zach Cummins hanging out with AC. You would not have come.
I probably, I might not have. I wasn't a cool guy though. Dude, I heard that same thing from Josh though. Josh thought I was never a cool guy to anybody. Anyone that knew me knew that I was not the cool guy. But J-Mo said the same thing when I first started coming to study our Bible study.
Oh, really?
He was like, yeah, he was like, dude, low key. Like I thought you were a cool guy. Wasn't really down with you joining us.
That's funny. Hanging out with Adam probably put that on you a little bit.
He was pretty cool.
So maybe or
Darian and I were homies. We were like frenemies. We were like
being like the factory DC guy.
He says yeah. We were like frenemies. He's like yeah. We were nice to each other. But we also like kind of despised each other secretly.
Zach's talking. Darren's like, I didn't despise you.
He did. Darian didn't like me.
We were friends. But...
Darian didn't like me. I knew Darian didn't like me.
Yeah, there was times, I don't know what it was, but definitely because I was really competitive when I was younger. So it was like any time, and me and you always like competed. And we were like, even when we came out like off the bike, we still were like competing about something.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Going for a same ride or whatever,
There was a lot of times I think we were in similar positions, and had similar results, whatever. And there was a period, right, which I'm totally open about, where I got more support than my results warranted, for sure. So I get how, like, if there was someone that was around my level, for a lot of people, I think a lot of people weren't super stoked on that. Not saying that that's what you felt, but like there was a period when I was at the end of B class where like I had a lot more going for me than my actual paper results had earned. So
I feel like it started a little bit before that, like 10 years before that, when I thought we were friends. But then you started hanging out with my sister.
I was just friends with you, dude. I was never anything more than friends with your sister. Your sister was one of my best friends.
She was more of a friend to you than I was at that time.
Oh, sure. Well, I'll be honest. I had a little bit of a crush on your sister.
Looking,
I had a little bit of a crush on her at one point, but she never liked me back. So we were just friends.
Darian got all butthurt. He's like,
didn't you try to take my sister to prom one time or something?
I took your sister to prom.
So that goes both ways, bro. Come on. This sister thing goes both ways.
Whoa. Man, I didn't realize all this sister stuff was going on.
No, it wasn't exactly like that. It was just at Loretta's.
Darian's like, hey, Zach tried to go out with my sister.
So I went out with his sister.
I am going to get his
Yep. That's too funny, man. Yeah.
That's funny.
Those were good times, though. I mean, there were some good races then. I mean, we raced each other at Loretta's for a long time. And I don't remember us really running into each other much other than that one Mini O's incident.
I remember. I remember like having some good battles, maybe like in Vegas, World Minis, like a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
I even feel like my first Loretta's, we were battling. Maybe
when would that have been?
2006, I think. 7 to 9, 65 class.
Oh, okay. Shoot, that was your first Loretta's.
Yeah.
Okay, that would have been like my third, probably.
Yeah, I feel like one moto we were like pretty close.
That's funny.
And Thomas Covington.
Yeah, Covington. I remember Covington being close to. I remember there was a year, like a couple years after that, 9 to 11 85s. I went out and won the first. Adam's bike broke, right, which I think opened the floodgates for all of us as soon as we saw him on the side of the track. Like, all right, this championship's up for grabs. Here we go.
Where was it at?
Loretta's.
Okay.
It was one of the 9 to 11, either stock or mod, one of the 9 to 11 classes. And I won the first moto. And dude, I came by the mechanics area on the last lap, like fist pumping, which, as you know, the layout of Loretta's, I got a full lap.
I got
a full lap and not a big lead. Like I was just so pumped because I did not think I was going to be winning that year. Yeah. And then Moto 2, I think I went down and got like 6th or 7th, and Thomas ended up
What's
winning.
your dad think when you came into
So my dad actually broke a finger in the race from clapping his hands so hard as I came by, broke one of his fingers.
That's funny.
He was with me. He was hyped.
So he was fist pumping too.
Yeah.
That's
And then
that's cool.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
No, we were stoked just because, I mean, it was a year that like I just didn't expect to be, I think Adam had us all pretty covered that year.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that might have been 2009 maybe. I think I was hurt that year. I had broken my leg.
Oh, really?
I was watching, and I think you, Thomas, Jesse Masterpool, I want to say.
Probably.
We're all in there and like battling.
Yeah, but I mean, there were a few guys that I really expected to be better than me. And then first moto of the week to get a W, I was like, oh man, and then did not back it up even in the slightest.
Medal that Loretta's was cool, to get the medal after on the podium.
That was back when they gave out wakeboards too.
Yeah.
You didn't get one though.
No, I think when I finished there I got a few seconds and a few thirds at Loretta's, but never the wakeboard. Now they give out those really awesome plastic swords. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a wakeboard. I won 2008.
What class was that?
65. I stayed pretty much in the 65 class. Everybody moved up.
Oh, I remember that. We moved up and you stayed back.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I do remember that. You were pretty big.
Got to get my wakeboard.
Yep.
Hey, win's a win. Ahad just got a Loretta's title, so.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah, at this point, nobody really asked what class it was. Maybe what class, but it's like, oh, it's college boy. And it's like, oh, that was maybe a good class, right?
I feel like that's the only class that you can kind of say college boy, or maybe C.
C,
yeah. C, sure.
Yeah.
But there was most definitely some times like college boy or like the 450B stock class, or there was classes where people won titles that I'm like, hey, dude, you were the only guy in that class.
Yeah.
Well, because they used to have, I don't think they do anymore. They used to have 250B mod and stock and 450B mod and stock.
Yes.
So you could dodge everybody. Like there were two classes that were clearly the classes the best guys were going to race. Yep. And I think that was a mistake that I made, honestly, when I look back at my amateur career, is every race I went to, like just with the way my dad was or my mentality, whatever, I signed up for the class that was like supposed to be the class.
Yeah.
And then I would get like third or fourth. And I was like, man, if I just signed up in the one audible class, it would have been a lot better for me.
Right.
Recognition.
Yeah, right? Because that other dude gets a Loretta's title. Like,
that's what Europe does better, though, is like they have the 85 class. They have EMX 125, EMX 250. So it's like, it don't matter. If you're on a 250 and you're good, you're in this class.
Yeah.
Where here it's like, oh, I won 250B stock limited, and this and that, like a bunch of different.
I don't know
about junior mini 9 to 12.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what the amateur scene is over there, but again, here in the States, like everything is about the money. So it's like more classes equals more money because I know they're gonna sign up, right? So let's put everything out there. I know Loretta's is a little bit different, but at the same time,
Loretta's is kind of down that road though. They're getting there. They're better than like Ponca used to be because I think John and I have joked about it, and Darren, you might remember Ponca used to have 450D
mod.
Yeah, 450D mod, stock and mod of 450D, which was by far the best class they had.
Yeah, to watch.
Dudes with no goggles, no gloves, like work boots that he just laced up. These were like the handyman from the rodeo that was going on up the road. Just came down and raced 450D.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to bring us to the end of our show. Each show we have a final 5 fun questions to go over with our guest. And Zach's going to go over those with you. You good to answer some questions?
Sure. Sounds good.
All right, first one I got for you, Darian. You traveled a lot for the GPs. What country do you think had the best food?
Best food. That's tough, but I'm honestly just going to go with England. I like the breakfast. Those are pretty good.
Michael Mosman was hyping up the Kuwait McDonald's.
Yeah, McDonald's, it depends.
He was, remember? He was. Yeah. That was what he was like, best cuisine.
Kuwait I don't know about that. I wouldn't go that far. I mean, I haven't been to Kuwait, but I doubt that it's great for you, but it's definitely better than in America.
Did you do some McDonald's?
Yeah, I had times with McDonald's. The first time I went over to England, I had McDonald's, and it was like it was after the race before I went home. I'm like, all right, everybody went there, so I just got it. I got the Chicken Legend, it was called. It was like a big McChicken sandwich, but better.
Yeah, that's the thing is they have like such weird menu options in certain countries. I mean,
it's more expensive too there.
Really?
Is it a lot more? Yeah.
It's probably better quality food.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Maybe not crazy better, but better.
Yeah, for sure.
What is your favorite cell phone app?
My favorite cell phone app? Probably Notes. Honestly, I go to my Notes a lot. Yeah. I kind of keep everything logged in there, but I don't really have an app that's favorite. Obviously, a lot of people are going on social media, Instagram a lot.
Are you on TikTok?
No, I went on it briefly for a little bit just to mess around. I didn't even put my name on it. I put Big D Whips. That was my username, but then I stopped doing it.
All right. What, if you can think of one, it doesn't have to be the best, but what is your luckiest memory on a dirt bike? Luckiest? Whether that be a big crash that didn't go horribly wrong, something that was almost a crash, a race result that you don't think should have happened but did. Luckiest memory that comes to mind.
That's tough to say, luckiest. I mean, there are times where, you crash or you almost crash and it could have been really big and you saved it. But I don't know. I mean, just my first thing comes to mind is just getting both the whole shots at Monster Cup. And I think one of the times I got the whole shot might have been the year before I got the whole shot in the second one. And you had like that pile up in the corner.
Yep.
I think you clipped me a little bit, but I still got the whole shot.
When I was in the pileup, the year before I was in the pileup, you got a whole shot. Cause that was when you came, we were, it was a split lane and we came out side by side and you came over on me hard.
Yeah.
And then if I remember right, I think you fist pumped or waved to the crowd when you hit the triple right away.
Yeah.
Did you really?
Dude, he hit the triple in the lead on lap 1, like right in front of us all, threw a whip and looked at the crowd and did one of these. And I talked to you after, and if I remember right, you said, dude, I knew I was on TV. I had to do it.
That is awesome.
That was definitely the most fun I've had, was like doing that. And I was just like, this is sick. And
that race was awesome.
So funny. That is cool.
Yeah. Dang. Those were fun.
I don't remember the fist pump at all.
It was low key, but it was one of those Darian style whips too, where he like threw it and like dropped the elbow in with a lot of energy.
That's funny. Yeah. Was it as good as Zach's fist pump over the finish line?
No, not that good.
What?
Me?
Yeah.
When?
Your LCQ win.
Oh, I didn't fist pump that. Come on. That was a tear off. All right. I did fist pump after in the exact moto Darian's talking about. Yeah. I got 4th in the moto and I was hyped afterward because that got me second overall, just with the way guys had crashed, whatever else. That was probably my luckiest race also, because I think I went 5-4 for second overall.
Sorry, Zach. Does that bum you out bringing up your
I won an LCQ. I mean, yeah, I think we should talk about it. I think more people should talk about it. I am a winner in Supercross. That's a pretty big deal, John. And I did not fist pump. I pulled a tear off.
I think we should get Mitch to see what he thinks.
Let's not talk to Mitch about it. Okay? Darian, if you had to live the rest of your life as an animal, what animal would you be?
Wow, that's kind of crazy. A monkey.
Really?
A monkey.
Would you still ride?
I don't know. They're pretty cool.
Ride one of those little bicycles.
Were you one of the kids that was in that movie or no?
No.
Bradley Taft was. I remember that.
I thought you were.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah, Bradley Taft.
You remember that, John?
What movie?
When we were on 50s, there was I don't remember what it was called, but it was like a moto monkey movie, and it was a monkey that could ride a Cobra 50, and he raced.
Three little Cobra 50 monkeys and stuff.
But it was Bradley Taft, Michael Victorian, and someone else.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah, I remember that. Hungry Mike.
Where is he now? All right, you'd be a monkey. You'd still ride though, you think?
Probably not. I mean, if I was like in the movie, sure.
Only if I'm making money.
Last one, Darian. What is your weirdest moto-related superstition? Or do you not do that?
I used to kind of have like a lot of superstitions, but then I don't know. I think I was telling Shane about it like in maybe 2013 at club, and I want to say he was like, "No," he's like, "You shouldn't have superstition. You shouldn't have superstitions." He's like,
"I agree."
And so I was at that point. I was like thinking about it, and it's kind of goes back to the verse. You know, it's like God's for you, then who can be against you? So it's like, why should you have superstitions? So then at that point, I was like, I'm gonna try to not have like any.
Yeah. So then I guess I'll ask what because I went through the same transition. I used to have a bunch when I was younger, and then at a certain point in my faith, I was like, I'm done with this. And now I'm like, I'm good. There's no superstition anymore. But what was the weirdest one you can think of? I used to have back when we wore Liettes, when Liettes were the thing, I would only ever unclip the left side of my Liette. And then I would buckle it back up, and I would unclip the left to put it back on. And if the right side was unclipped, I was like stressed about the day.
Really? I used to have my favorite Lucky underwear that I would wear every time when I was little.
Yep.
And then basically the superstitions I had was honestly just from hearing other people say it. Like, oh, don't wear red gloves. Or like I always put my left side on before my right side. So then I would just do it, just thinking like, oh, okay. And then I'm like, yeah, you know what? On purpose now. Like if somebody has a superstition, I'll do that.
Do the opposite.
Show them. Yeah.
I was hanging out with someone last week, and I like said something about driving home, and they were like, oh, I don't think I'll get in an accident. And I was like, listen, there's no, and then they got like superstitious about it. And we're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't drive. And I was like, listen, 100%. I'm saying absolutely I won't get in an accident. We're good. I'm going to drive.
Dang.
Like I don't care.
Yeah. I actually, that brings me back to that moto at Retta's where I crashed and broke my collarbone.
Yeah.
In that A year. Marshall Welton, you know him?
Yeah.
He came over to me and we were talking about, like, we were in staging. He's like, man, it's so stacked, huh? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's pretty stacked. I mean, there's like 10 or 12 dudes that were good.
He was pretty good that year too.
Yeah, he was good. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, are you not nervous? I'm like, well, no, not really. I mean, if you just look at the stats, it's like, I think I'm going to get a good start. So I think probably only half of us are going to get good starts.
Yeah.
You know, probably 4 guys are going to get a bad start. Probably 3 guys are going to fall. Probably 1 guy's going to have a bike problem.
I think I was all 3 of those guys.
So I'm like, if you think about it, if you're up front, there's probably only going to be like 4
or 4. Yeah.
You know? And he's like, he told me right before we went out, why would you put yourself in that position? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, that position where you could be somebody that gets hurt.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
oh, I hate that energy.
Yeah, I'm like, no. And then I went out.
I'm not going to be one of those guys.
No, but I mean, that's huge, right? I think we were talking about huge and like definitely factors into, like you saying, like the whole shot you got in Supercross, like putting yourself in positions to do well. I remember one year with like, I think it was going into my A year maybe, or maybe the year before, but like calling Ryan Holiday and being like, hey, like I want to get to that next level to where I'm like more deserving of the support and, you know, whatever else. And it's a pretty serious phone call, but I was like, hey, like what do you see? Like you watch me at every amateur national. What do I need to be focusing on tomorrow in your eyes? And he talked to me about how I had a really bad problem of not putting myself in a position to succeed. Like you come ready a lot of the time, or it looks like you're ready, whatever. But in the last minute, you don't put yourself in a position to have success, whether that's a bad start or like getting into it with someone too early in the race or whatever else. And so for me, that was something like I focused on right then. And that was when I like then came out and had a better Monster Cup, had a better, next year. But that was something that I think you've been capitalizing on even still, right? Like,
yeah, honestly, just positioning yourself to be in that spot to take the opportunity. I mean, for me, like in GPs and stuff, I just kind of had to focus on what I could do, and not a lot of the times, like I was there in the position to do well and get the opportunity, but I didn't, and I let it slip. But I would rather have that than like never have an opportunity.
Dude, absolutely. It's better to, obviously Vince Freezy has made a career out of doing that. And it's not a knock to his speed or his work ethic at all, but like really realized early on in his professional career, like I've got to put myself in a position that I'm in the front of the race no matter what. And then I'll learn. That's huge. Definitely.
And hopefully, you learn quick. If you're up front and stuff, you definitely have a better shot of learning.
Yeah.
That speed and everything.
Yep. Yeah, if you're not up front, it's going to be hard to ever see or get that speed.
Yeah.
From mid-pack or whatever.
Yeah. Sure. But hey, Darian, dude, we super appreciate you joining us for this long. It's great to catch up, and I'm excited to see what outdoors holds. Hopefully this thing plays through, and I mean that's a huge check off the bucket list or the kind of dream as a kid. So I'm excited.
Yeah, it'd be sick. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
For sure. Appreciate you, Darian, and hopefully you go racing, brother.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, dude. Love you, man. Have a good one.
See ya.
Thanks for tuning in to RevUp. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any new content. Check us out every Thursday at 5 p.m. And if you're interested in learning more about PanicREV, head over to panicrev.org or follow us on Instagram. Until next week, I've been John Parkinson. This has been RevUp. Stay healthy and God bless.